I just found out my 15-year-old daughter is not my biological child. My daughter was preparing for a family tree project for an online class and wanted an ancestry test. My father is half Native American, but he died several years ago and I don't know precisely what Native American blood is in the family. My daughter came to me because it was my father and we didn't mention it to her mother at the time. Well, it turned out my daughter doesn't have any Native American blood. The obvious conclusion didn't occur to me at first because the truth of the situation didn't seem possible. I assumed there was a mistake. My first thought was that my father hadn't been part Native American. So I took the test and everything became apparent. It was a very emotional situation for me and my daughter. What I will remember the most was after she started crying, she hugged so tightly and just kept saying over and over, "I love you, Daddy." At home I confronted my wife and she looked like she'd had a stroke. She started crying and apologizing. You can probably imagine it. My wife and I got married because she was pregnant. We had been together for more than a year when it happened. It turns out she was sleeping with multiple guys at the time. She says it didn't mean anything and she doesn't even remember some of their names. When she realized she was pregnant, she said she wasn't sure who her father was. Since I was unaware of her extracurricular activities, she let me believe I was the father because I was the most financially stable. In terms of that, she may have chose correctly. I've been very successful in my career and building passive income streams has been a hobby of mine for a long time. My daughter got my wife to admit to this on tape as my daughter records the whole thing. I asked my wife several times, and she keeps insisting that she has been faithful for the entire time we have been married. I've never suspected anything, but I also didn't realize she was sleeping around before we got married, so I've said I don't believe her. I've come across a lot of the red flags of cheaters and I can't think of any of them during our marriage. She doesn't use social media and she has never been guarded about her phone. She only drinks on special occasions and doesn't go out for girls' night or anything. Also, she is a stay-at-home wife/mom, so here aren't any coworkers to worry about. She exercises at home as we have a very nice home gym. I don't believe her when she says she hasn't cheated after getting married, but I can't think of anything suspicious. We have a prenup, so I'm not worried about divorce if it comes to that. My daughter is another story. She is absolutely livid about the whole situation. I know teenagers can be emotional. I certainly remember how I was at her age. But she has never been very expressive, something I thought she or from me, nature versus nurture. My daughter can't stand to be around her mother. She has said some truly awful things to her mother. Basically variations of calling her a dirty slut who ruined our family. Whenever my wife tries to talk to her, my daughter yells and swears and cries like I have never seen. Christmas is coming up and my daughter is demanding my wife leave the house until after New Year's so she can spend time with her real family, meaning me. My daughter has even come to me privately saying that in the event of divorce she wants to stay with me. She has even asked if it is possible to disown her mother and be adopted by me. I haven't told this to my wife. My wife is preparing to leave for her parents' house for the holidays. My wife and I had talked about the situation but have decided to wait until after New Year's to make any decisions. I admit I'm grateful she agreed to leave because honestly I need some time to process this. I think I'm writing this as a way to just come to terms with everything that has happened. Edit. After writing this post I fell asleep for a few hours. I came back to e-post after about 10 hours and realized there were more than 200 messages. Thanks to everyone who took the time to comment, it means a lot. Additionally, thanks for all of the compassion and kind comments. I was touched by the displays of support and I'm not ashamed to say I shed a few tears. I still haven't read every message but know I intend to whether or not I respond to yours specifically. I want to address two consistent things mentioned in the comments. I've had a DNA test. After our ancestry tests were different due to her lack of Native American blood, we got proper DNA tests. That was when I confronted my wife. Looking back at the original post, I'm sorry for not making that clear. I have made it clear in no uncertain terms that she is my daughter and I am her father regardless of the situation. I've reiterated to her repeatedly that she can stay with me and I will never leave her. Several comments suggested she might be scared I will leave her or want nothing more to with her. Nothing could be farther from the truth and I tell her every day. Update 1. Thank you once again to everyone who took time to comment. I was noted to address a few comments with some more information. Some people wanted to know if I have any more children and the answer is no. For no specific reason, we just never had more children. Once again I realize I did not make it clear in the original post, but I did have a proper test done and confirmed that my daughter is not biologically related to me. Regardless, I have raised her for 15 years and she will always be my daughter. I have heard the arguments against this and I remain unconvinced. My relationship with my wife has always been good. She has always been a wonderful wife and mother, but I admit that this situation has raised some obvious doubts and obstacles. After my wife left, my daughter calmed down considerably but is still obviously shaken. We managed to all it out and she explained why she got so upset. Apparently she knows kids at school whose parents are divorced because of infidelity. In most of the cases, especially when the mother was the one cheating, the father tended to distance himself from the family. My daughter knows of one child, not a close friend, whose father moved across the country after the divorce. The father only sees his children once or twice a year now. All of this was going through my daughter's head when she realized what her mother had done. My wife wants to talk with me and my daughter very much. Basically just to give her a chance to explain. My birthday is a few days before Christmas and my daughter has agreed to a video chat with her mother. I'm assured my daughter that if all she wants to do is listen, then that's fine. She doesn't have to say anything. That's what's happened since, and I guess I'll just have to wait and see what happens next. Thanks for reading. Updates 2. My daughter and I have been spending a lot of time together, just playing games and watching movies and stuff like that. But even if I'm doing work on my computer or anything else around the house, she just wants to be in the same room as me. Even if she is just playing on her iPad. After the initial shock of everything that happened, I started to calm down and reminded myself of a few things. I think the reason I have been so successful is that I don't make emotional decisions or act rashly or hastily. I have always taken time to evaluate a situation and make choices based on evidence. So I hired professional help. I had a private investigator keep an eye on my wife. She has location service on her phone and GPS on her car, but the PI confirmed that she only left her parents' house once to go to the supermarket. Her parents had called me after a couple days wanting to know if my wife was okay. My father-in-law said my wife only left her room for meals and hadn't left the house since. The supermarket was a day or two later. The second guy I hired was tech savvy. He is a friend of a friend and helped me go through my wife's computer and phone and accounts. I was both impressed and unnerved about what this guy was capable of doing. We did a deep search that went back years. I don't want to go into all the details of my investigation, but I found zero evidence of any type of affair. All of this made me think a lot. I reread my original post and I realized that what I wrote about getting married because of the pregnancy might have meant more than I thought. Maybe we didn't get married for love. I certainly think we have grown to love each other and I still think we are in love. I realized that she lied, but something really great came from that, and one person left a comment that I hadn't considered. If you are reading, then, thank you for the insight. The comment talked about how all of my wife's efforts to stay home and be a good wife and mother may have all been intentional and sign of her remorse and guilt of everything she had done. My wife has been discreetly contacting me since left the house and we have chatted a little, but it's not about important stuff. After thinking about everything I didn't find, I agreed to talk with her after my daughter went to sleep. She did not look so great. She had obviously been crying and probably not sleeping well. It was a long conversation, but she just apologized again for lying. She said she had always hoped I was the father. She admitted that she was young, dumb, reckless and irresponsible, but getting pregnant made her reevaluate everything. She said she regrets blurting out that she chose me because I was the most financially stable, although she admits that was part of it. She had a long list of reasons why she chose me. I'm not going to summarize everything, but I believe she is sincere when she says all she wants is do whatever it takes for us to be able to be a family again. We agreed it may never be exactly as it was before, but I said I'm not ready to throw away the best 15 years of my life. Yes, that is exactly what they have been. I have to admit that I could not have asked for a better wife or mother to my child. The sense of relief seemed to overwhelm her and she broke down crying again. Today is my birthday, and as planned the three of us had our talk online. My daughter was very quiet for most of it. I talked a little about what we had been doing while I was at her parents'. Nothing too excited. Then my wife said to my daughter that she just wants to explain herself. I've always believed that there is a difference between an explanation and an excuse. She did not try to justify herself or put the blame on anything or anyone else. Basically, she told our daughter the same things she told me. Once again, it was a long conversation that I can't summarize in a few sentences. But it was good. My daughter very attentively, and the only thing she asked was if my wife knew her who real dad was. I was unexpectedly moved by my wife's answer, "Your real dad is sitting next to you." That made my daughter cry openly. She apologized for the things she said to her mother in the beginning. I admit that my wife may have just been stroking my ego and saying what she knew I wanted to hear. Based on the fact that I could find no evidence of my wife being unfaithful and just the conversations, I think we can move past this. My daughter's going to start counseling after the new year, and eventually we will have couple/family therapy as well. We talked about having Christmas together in a few days as a family. This whole thing has been a real roller coaster, but I'm optimistic at the moment. I was having a drink by myself to toast my birthday after my daughter went to bed. I think it will be possible for the three of us to be a family again. I certainly want to be. I really liked hearing the things my said. Of course I can guess why she said a lot of them. I'm thinking a lot about what my daughter said about her real father. That hurt the more I thought about. I don't think she intended to hurt me, and I'm not sure she even realizes how it sounded, but it wasn't fun. We're still spending a lot of time together and it's been great. I'm not going to ask her about finding her biological father, and if she brings it up then I'll just cross that bridge when it's time. We went to my wife's parents for Christmas Eve. My brother and mother met us there and it was fun time. Before coming over me, my wife and daughter agreed that we would be polite and cordial, but maybe keep a discreet distance. The day was as you would expect it to be, spending time with a family. That evening my wife came home with us. When we got home the two of them spent time talking alone. With a few Christmas cookies I hand my daughter went to her room for the rest of the night. When my wife and I were alone we talked more. She reiterated a lot to the things she had already said. I think I mentioned this already, but there was one commenter, if you're listening, thank you, who said that all her choices to stay home might have been intentional. My wife did not say these exact words, but that was the basic message. After getting pregnant she realized that she had to grow up, and she said she worked as hard as possible and did everything she could think of to be the perfect wife and mother. By this point we were actually in our bedroom. She got down on her knees and said she will redouble her efforts to be even better. She said she knew I was considering divorce, but all she said was please give me a chance to prove myself. She said if there was anything I needed from her, anything she would do it without hesitation. All she wanted was to keep our family together. It's difficult to fully describe the emotion of everything that has happened. But I believe in her sincerity, in this moment. We spent a very passionate night together. Christmas was a good time. I'm not going to say it was perfect, we were aware of the elephant in the room, but it was still a good day. It was the first time just the three of us were alone since the truth was uncovered. But we did have a good day. We had our traditional Christmas breakfast and then we watched the movie It's a Wonderful Life before we opened presents. One of the gifts to our daughter was a video game console, and she asked if we could organize a family game night, and this made my wife cry. She left the room and came back composed, but I think she just wasn't expecting something like that. I think I already mentioned that we are going to do some therapy after New Year's. I don't think there is anything else to say at this point. I'm not going to say everything will work out for everyone dealing with similar situations, but I think me and my family will be able to move on. Thank you for everyone who commented the first time around. It helped more than I thought would. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Abuse disguised as poly. I need help. I'm lost in the middle of this right now and I can't see things very objectively. I didn't want to go to r/relationship advice because they're pretty extreme, and I wouldn't put it past them to jump to conclusions about my safety and simultaneously shame me for being poly and for my role in this. One of my relationships was questionable from the beginning, but he was upfront with me, so I trusted him. He told me he and his wife were separated, but they had an unspoken understanding that they would each live their own lives. But they can't get divorced because it would cause hardship and shame for their families back home. He told me this the first time we met, and we clicked, so I was okay with it. My nesting partner was concerned but trusted me. Months pass, things are great between us, except I still don't know his last name. I don't know the name of his business that he owns. I learned he uses a burner phone for me. He is terrified of his wife finding out about me because she'll divorce him and ruin his life, even though they can't get divorced because of their families and supposedly she's having her own relationships. Then he tells me he's getting pressure from his wife's family, and his family to make things work and eventually have kids, but he didn't want to break it off with me. This man literally said I want to have my cake and eat it too, but gave me an out if I wasn't comfortable with it. I was immediately on board with him reconnecting with his wife, and admittedly, I didn't want to leave him either and wanted to be a little selfish, so I thought I was okay with it. A couple of weeks pass where we don't see each other, during which I get this growing, nagging feeling that things are wrong, and I finally realize that I'm not okay with it. He is literally making me into the other woman. His wife is expecting a monogamous relationship and he is lying to her face. I try to encourage him to talk to his wife about a couple of things, but he claims that she isn't mature about things like this. I've lost count of how many red flags I've typed out now. Here are a few more. When I told him that I realized I'm not comfortable with how the boundaries of our relationship have changed, he got very passive-aggressive and told me that he thought I would always be there for him. Selflessly. I told him I didn't realize selfless meant zero boundaries, and he responded selfless means not thinking about yourself. He would never initiate conversation unless it was to complain about me not initiating conversation every single day. He keeps telling me that our relationship is special and unique and things are different with me. When I called him out on what he said in the first bullet point and said he clearly didn't want a relationship with a whole person and only cared about his own needs and disregarded mine, he said I misunderstood and he wants a chance to clarify, but he can't clarify over text. But he's so sad that I felt this way about this misunderstanding, and he thought I knew him better than that, and he was always considerate and caring. And then he asked if I was still mad when he still refuses to clarify anything over text. I obviously can't continue any sort of relationship with him. I thought there was a chance I could still support him or be a friend, but I don't think I can trust anything he says. I'm fluctuating between being furious with him and being furious at myself for willfully ignoring red flags and also straying from my own values. And now to the reason why I'm here. Is he actually a massive piece of shit? Was he always a manipulative douche canoe? Or do you think he's just a selfish dumbass? How do y'all with more poly experience than I do, 1 year, deal with situations like this? Also, is he actually love bombing / manipulating me, or am I just reading too much into it? I need a sanity check. Edit, y'all are being much kinder to me than I am. Thank you. Update 1, it's only been 13 or so hours, but y'all have helped me in ways I didn't expect. I came in with a lot of self-judgment and doubt and expected a lot of hate for my part in it. Funny how manipulative people can make us think bad situations are all our fault, huh? Anyway, I took a lot of what y'all said to heart and was already on my way to fully acknowledging the Soviet parade of red flags this guy had and my part in all of it. Last night, I did try to find his last name so I had the option of telling his wife, but I struck out on that. I got laid off a couple of months ago and I'm sorry but I can't justify paying for a background check. So today, I did what almost everyone, including my NP and friend, has been saying from the beginning and blocked him, but it felt shitty to do it without any comment at all, so I sent him this. I'm not meeting you in person. You've had plenty of chances to turn this around but instead of addressing the issues, you love bombed and deflected and kept promising later. You may love me but you clearly don't respect me. Or your wife. It was tempting to meet up with you to hear how you were going to try to dig your way out of this hole but ultimately, it wouldn't change anything. I'm done. Then I immediately blocked him on everything. My NP said that was harsher than they expected from me but they were proud of me. NGL, it still hurts. He kept saying he was going to respect my decision but right now he's fighting for me which my NP said sounds contradictory. I have to agree. I'm a little worried he's going to show up at my place but I hope his sense of self-preservation will win out. If he shows up at my place, I'll show up at his. Thank you all for the sanity check and reminding me that I am human and will continue to make mistakes and get hurt. Small edit, I did find a couple of actually free reverse phone lookups, and they didn't have a name associated with the number at all, reaffirming that he used a burner phone for me. Update 2. Hi everyone. I wanted to give a bit of a positive update. 8 months ago, I posted asking for advice on how to navigate realizing that a guy I was dating was just using polyamory as an in to using me to cheat on his wife. You can read it here. The community here was telling me a lot of what I knew but didn't want to admit or didn't fully realize, and a lot more that I needed to hear. I want to give an update on my situation with him and my new partner, who has shown me exactly what poly is supposed to be. First, the jerk. I'll call him Nick, because that's his name, and even if he or someone he knew somehow saw this, there are so many Nicks in the world. Ig. This paragraph is pretty rough so you want to skip down to the positive part. I marked it with a blue heart. I did not meet him again, which many of you will be happy to hear. He doesn't need closure and he sure as hell doesn't deserve any more attention from me. What I realized later is that he really, truly, had me believing that all of the things he was mad at me about were my fault and my responsibility. Stress-triggered symptoms of dormant gonorrhea, which I passed to him, thinking I simply had a sore throat. He panicked, told me that he absolutely could not have anything on record with his insurance or the government or whatever, got a massive panel, tested positive for HSV-1, which I did not test positive for, BTW, but he still blamed me, and the last time we met, he told me that he was doing me a favor by forgiving me and seeing me again, and that I needed to make it up to him. I believed him, and therefore didn't fight back when he hit me. I kept this from my partners and my therapist for a long time out of various degrees of shame. I told Nick I was done, saved the screenshots, and blocked him on everything. I wasn't going to give him a chance to smooth talk his way back into my good graces, nor was I going to give him a chance to attack me, or worse. I didn't have time for his shit when I was just trying to survive after getting laid off in January. 4 months later, while I was at my friend's wedding at the end of July, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Nick. He said he respected that I apparently blocked him on everything and wouldn't reach out again, but he wanted to plead with me one more time to meet him and give him a chance to explain himself, because he hates that I think he would believe those things. Barf. I had a full panic attack during the wedding, which both partners were very helpful in guiding me through, and struggled for a long time on whether to respond, whether to threaten him with telling his wife, whether to file a police report, etc. etc. Ultimately, I did the smart thing and just didn't respond and didn't do anything at all. I was scared for a while, due to past trauma of exes coming up out of the blue to try to weasel their way into my lives, and also being very aware of the realities of r/women horrorfuse. I was scared to leave my apartment alone at night for a while, because I couldn't trust that his self-preservation would be stronger than his ego. Ultimately, I have healed, nothing has escalated, and it has been another 4 months of silence. I am genuinely at peace with my past with him and my present and future without him. Now for the good part. A couple of weeks after I broke it off with Nick, I was back online, refusing to let Nick or my fear of him control my dating life. I was going to take it slow and stay cautious but optimistic. I had a couple of good dates, but one really stuck out and lasted. My new partner, who I will call Dave, because why not, has been in poly relationships for over 5 years. We spent the first week just texting, laughing, and discussing boundaries, and then, for the first meetup/date, he invited me over to his place for dinner along with several of his friends/roommates, where he made ramen from scratch. We spent the evening talking, laughing, playing Cards Against Humanity, I told him that inviting me over to a group dinner for a first date was a choice, but it worked out since I unanimously passed the vibe check, including from his spouse. Major green flag for me, being approved by the spouse lol, and his friends were fantastic wing people haha. We've been together for 7 months now. We joke that his kink is consent. Dave has helped me through a lot of the grieving that comes with escaping abuse. He has never made me feel bad about setting boundaries, and has wholeheartedly supported and accepted them. He, his spouse, my NP and myself all get along really well and had the chillest Friendsgiving ever. I helped Dave and his spouse paint and move into their new house. I have met his mom and several of his childhood friends. My family and friends live several states away. We've gone to a wedding together. We currently have very similar lines of work, so we are able to really understand each other's vents. Long story short, I never really believed that it was possible to have 2 healthy relationships total, much less 2 at the same time. So thank y'all for giving me the kick in the pants that I needed. The poly community as a whole has been wonderful and I have been truly happy and at peace for a while now.